Hey, wouldn't you like to be 5 minutes funnier? Hi, I'm Jimmy England, and welcome to another episode of 5 Minutes Funnier, the comedy how-to. And I'm here today to talk about two things that are kind of old things I've talked about earlier. One is just an extenuation of something, and the other one is, I think, a more practical application of something that I've said earlier. If that sounds confusing, I'll try and clear it up for you very quickly. First off, just a continuation of my rant from the other episode, the last episode about knowing your material. I still think that that's vital. But in fairness, there are people who say, no, there's not a problem with taking that up on stage with you. Now, my argument to that would be it's okay for you to take that information, that script or whatever you're working off of on stage. If it's okay to go to a movie and Spider-Man is walking around with his script in his hand. I don't think that's a good movie. I certainly don't think I should be paying money to watch somebody do that. So my argument would be, no, you need to know your material. Just as a movie is not going to be any good if the cast doesn't know their lines, the same is true of a comedian if they don't know their lines. And I promise you I'm not going to go and revisit that again. The other thing is, I had talked to you about editing your material so it's very, very tight. And that's good, and I sure hope that helps some of you anyways. But that's also a rather vague thing. A lot of people don't really understand how exactly you do that, what you eliminate in order to tighten up a joke. So I thought what I would do today is show you a joke that I had written a long time ago that was a lot longer than it really should have been and had a lot of extraneous details. And then I would edit it down in front of you and let you see what my thinking process was and what I was doing as I went along. I think if I do this, it'll become a lot clearer how to help reduce what you're doing and make it much more effective as far as laughs go. Anyway, here's the setup that I'm using. This is the joke that I wrote. At this stage, it's kind of exploratory. I'm trying to figure out what the joke is, where the humor is, what the heck to do. So first thing I notice when I look at this is it's not one joke. There's actually several of them here. So I'm going to break them into the jokes that they are, which are three separate jokes. Now, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to remove all unnecessary descriptors. These are adjectives mostly, but adverbs too. For instance, in this particular context, beautiful and buxom add nothing to the joke. The important thing is that the lady was naked. All the other stuff is just padding, so I'm going to get rid of that. And since I am getting rid of padding, that's what I'm going to look for next, for padding. Words or phrases that don't amplify the basic premise. Here, for instance, we don't need any of these highlighted bits. You take them out and the joke still works. So let's take them out. Now we're going after concepts or setups that don't go anywhere, and this line, do you know what that is a perfect example. It's an opportunity to interact with the audience, yes, but you're not leading them anywhere with a question and not having the answer. It distracts you from the flow of the joke, and there's really no payoff. So unless I'm going to figure out a great line to come back with, it can go. Now the next thing to look for, well, logical anomalies. Take this one over here. She's out of sight, but I'm straining to see. Again, it's an unnecessary detail, so we're going to get rid of it. I don't need it. Now, is there anything else here that I don't need? Because that's always what you're looking for, the thing you don't need. And yeah, the other comedian. He has absolutely no input into the joke. He's just a digression. So out comes everything about him. See, at this point, the first joke now has to be rewritten. It's kind of all chunked up and all over the place. So this is what I've done. Now you compare that to my first effort, and you can see this is much tighter and funnier. Equally important, the focus is on my experience alone. The fact that it's about me, it's not about somebody else, it's not an observation. And now at this point, I say the jokes out loud to hear how they flow and adjust for what feels comfortable to say, because we're all unique and we have our little verbal quirks, words we like to use and whatnot. And what we write sometimes is different than what we're comfortable saying. but I'm still very cognizant of the rhythm of the words and how they all fit together and come out of my mouth. I wouldn't do this joke today, at least not in this form. Part of the reason is it's just really a two-laugh joke, and that's it, and the subject is finished. I tend today, and most comedians also tend to try and follow up with more jokes in the context of what they're talking about being at a nature resort, other things that might be hilarious and whatnot. Until you got 6, 8, 10, 12, even, I don't know, 15 different jokes on the subject that you can do. The great thing about having that many jokes, and this brings us full circle to what I started talking about, is that when you have that, when those jokes are all in the same vein, you will learn all those jokes in that vein. They're a lot easier to remember than when you go on stage with just 2 jokes to talk about. It just becomes what we call a joke salad, which is fine. It's a lot of funny stuff. But instead of being able to remember one bit about the nature resort, you're trying to remember 2 jokes about the nature resort, 2 jokes about shopping, 1 joke about skydiving, whatever the subject is. You've got a whole lot going on. It makes it a lot harder to learn those jokes. Anyway, that's been preying on my mind for a few weeks. I hope this has been very useful to you, and certainly with the editing portion will allow you to get out there and figure out how to take those jokes and make them tighter. Make those laughs come closer together. Get rid of the stuff you don't need, the stuff that drags your act down, as it were. Well, this has been a lot of fun. I'm Jimmy England, and I will see you next time here at 5 Minutes Funnier. Stay funny, everybody.